I'm all about the road trip. I just love driving through cities and towns, especially small towns in the USA. You get to meet all kinds of colourful characters, you get to see all kinds of shops, cafes, vehicles. The stuff that you see is just unbelievable. And I'm on my way through Utah and Moab, a place that I know quite well. I've been coming there for years, but this part of Colorado is completely new to me. So tonight I'm spending the night in Grand Junction so that in the morning I can drive to the Crystal Mill and get that beautiful fall colour shot that I've been after for years. As you can see, I've been sleeping in the blunderbuss for the last 2 nights, but I'm absolutely sick to death of it. Last night when I got up for a pee, I banged my head on the roof. There's just no headroom, so I'm done with it. Tonight I'm going to spoil myself. I'm checking into a hotel. I'm going to have a nice long soak in a tub and get lovely and clean. Ooh, and a nice comfy bed. But tomorrow I'll get up super early, head out to that shoot.
The life of a landscape photographer is more miserable than most people realise. Lots of sleep deprivation, hemorrhoid-inducing drives and 3-star hotels. And yet, even with all that misery and suffering, I can't get enough of it.
Well, it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I'm going to head out to the Crystal Mill now. I've got a 2.5 hour drive. I've got my coffee and fully loaded up with fuel. Oh, that's hot. Shut up. Right, I'm ready to go. Let's get cracking. Don't know if you can see me, I hope you can. But I've just hit the highway and I can see lightning just peppering the landscape in the distance. It's absolutely brilliant. Super dramatic. I really hope I can get those conditions when I get to the Crystal Mill.
After the fireworks in the sky, the sun was just starting to rise and it was time to get off this highway. The next 30 minutes of the drive were a landscape photographer's wet dream, with lush autumn colours, steep cliffs and early morning mist. Just look at this business.
So I'm driving through a place called Pitkin County in Colorado, and I cannot comprehend how spectacular these autumn colours are. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a carpet of bright yellow colours, and that's even before the sun has risen and it's a cloudy, overcast day. Imagine when the sun hits these, they'll just set on fire and just glow. So I'm really excited, and I expect I'm going to get some good shots.
Okay, I do realise that this is a lot of dashcam footage, but come on, just look at these colours. With scenery like this, all you've got to do is just show up and switch on your camera. In fact, it almost feels like cheating, it's that easy. Well, minus the thousands of miles of driving, of course, and the hemorrhoids.
I don't mind admitting that this has got to be one of the most beautiful drives I've ever done. I just can't get my head around these autumn colours. It's just stunning, spectacular.
I'd heard reports that the road to the Crystal Mill was pretty brutal, but even though I was equipped with all-wheel drive and winter tyres, there were a few sections that were testing the limits of my suspension, and I didn't fancy the idea of breaking down in the middle of nowhere with the thunder and lightning storm rolling in. Well, at this point the road's so sketchy, I think I'm going to bail and just hike the rest of the way. It's about 4 miles, so it might take me an hour and a half to get there, but I'm not bailing now after thousands of miles of driving, so I just hope this thunder and lightning doesn't get me. I've noticed just over there, there's an entrance to a cave, which is kind of weird. This area used to have active silver mining. In fact, the ghost town of Crystal is a former silver mining camp. Now, despite the doom-laden atmosphere of the day and the challenges of the road, I was too close to quit, so off I ventured into the Elk Mountains like a bow-legged lightning rod. So it's So it's occurred to me that I'm walking through a thunder and lightning storm in the forest. There's lightning everywhere, and it's probably not a wise idea to be walking around with 3 tripods and being like a walking lightning conductor. So I've put my tripod over there by that rock. I'm sat under this overhang. Hopefully it gives me a bit of protection, but yeah, it's probably wise just to stay off the trail and stay hidden for a bit. A little bit sketchy.
So I waited out the worst of the storm, and after an hour of hiking, I was rewarded with this majestic vista. Oh, full photogasm.
So after a very soggy hike and a bit of dodging thunder and lightning, I'm finally here at the Crystal Mill, and it's absolutely gorgeous. These are the perfect conditions. This is everything that I wanted it to be. I love this soft light, and I love wispy rain clouds that come in and out of the scene. It's a beautiful mood. What I also love is when you get this lovely contrast of gloomy grey clouds that have no colour against these gorgeous aspen trees that are just bursting with yellow. And yellow and grey for me are a beautiful combination, so I could not have asked for anything more. So what I'm going to do is get down to the river, try some compositions there, and then go down the opposite direction and shoot back towards the mill and try some compositions there. And when I found the composition that I like, I'll show you how I got there and what I did.
Well, Mother Nature had different plans for me. It started raining so hard that I just gave up on the GoPro and then tried using my phone to film the tutorial, but even that got so soggy it could not focus.
So I finally found my shot, but I can't give you a tutorial yet because I've had to take my camera off the tripod because it's getting drowned. It will not stop raining, it is pouring, and even though I've got waterproofs on, I'm still pretty soggy. So if it clears up and I get a little bit of a quiet spot with no rain, then I'll do a tutorial and you can see how I got this lovely composition that I got. It's pretty sweet.
Oh God, oh jeez, let's get this blower on. Well, in terms of video tutorial, that was a bit of a disaster. I got some really nice shots and I spent a while trying different compositions, got some good shots, and then thought, right, well, I'll shoot the video tutorial for you. And then as soon as I started filming it, the heavens opened up and it was monsoon time. So I tried and everything was getting drowned. My camera was getting drowned, the GoPro was getting drowned, even tried with my phone and that was getting drowned. And then all of these tourists started arriving and I was getting cold and shivery, and this was completely drenched. So I thought, sod it, I'll just bail. Luckily I got a ride out with some Vietnamese tourists. That was really nice of them. And so now I've just got back to the car, I'm going to crank this blower, get warm, and then I'll show you what I got.
So this is the shot that I was trying to shoot the tutorial for, but with no luck. I just love those blue layers in the valley way off in the distance, and you can really tell how wet everything was, so the circular polarizer came in very handy. For this shot, I moved further downriver and got really low to the ground to balance out the building with those delicious textures in the white water. I went for a cooler tonality because I remember shivering my nips off at the time. On this one, I had to shoot 3 vertical shots and then stitch them together as a panorama, and my goal with this shot was to capture the entire river as it carves relentlessly through the valley. But out of all of the shots from that day, this one is my absolute favourite. The slate grey sky really sets the tone for this shot, and I love that lens distortion that comes as a result of getting lower to the ground.
So let me take you through how I got this shot and what I did. So looking at this, this screen recording that I'm doing, if you look to the left there, you'll see the sun poke through just for this little moment in time, and it lit these rocks beautifully. Now, usually I'll polarize that, I'll turn a polarizer and it'll kill all of that glare, but in this case, I really liked how that looked, so I left it in. Now, this is a square crop, but in order to get that shot, I had to do a 2 horizontal shot stitch, and I'll show you the raw files now. So this is the top frame, and even with 18mm on a full frame Sony a7R II, it's just not wide enough. So I took that shot and then I moved the camera down a little bit, and this is the next shot. So you can see I've got just enough material there to stitch everything together. If I go back to the top shot, I had a little bit of extra space there in the sky because I knew when I stitched them together I would lose some of that. So stitched those two together and I ended up with this. I'll go back to the raw files again. You can see those are just the raw files, so they're very dull, they're very flat looking. It's almost like a HDR image. I basically pulled up all of the shadows and pulled down the highlights, and especially in the water there. And then once I stitched them together, I then cropped it, and then I got to work with contrast and a few color adjustments, and I really like the end result. I just love this this motion of the water coming in. It kind of frames the shot. It comes in and then it goes out, and of course the mill just looks fantastic because I'm low down, so you've got this lens distortion which is kind of making it look a bit more imposing as it juts up into the sky. All in all, that's my favorite shot from that day. Couldn't have asked for more. This road is one of the worst roads I've been on. It's not the easiest road to get on. You definitely need 4x4. The guys that pulled me out of here were in an SUV, so I could have made it, but I just didn't fancy trashing my tyres and scraping my paintwork, so I thought I won't bother, but pickup truck, no problem. So anyway, I'm ready to get out of here. We're really desperate for a coffee. And then next stop is Moab. Ooh, ooh, my grapes.